Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, December 19th. A very active weather pattern for the rest of this week, and it looks like for next week as well. There's a break in the action today, but there are actually three separate storms affecting the nation right now. One of them will turn into an all-out blizzard for the upper part of the Midwest later tonight and tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a moment. A strong cold front will move into the eastern states later tomorrow night into the early part of Friday with some heavy rain, maybe some thunderstorm activity, strong wind gusts, and then temperatures will drop on Friday behind that front, and there's very well could be some snow shower activity even down to the I-95 corridor later in the day on Friday and Friday night, and even on the day on Saturday. There'll be a significant lake effect snow event in the mountains, let's say of western Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, West Virginia, maybe extreme western Virginia and Maryland over the weekend, as very strong winds come over the Great Lakes, which are still quite warm this time of the year, causing numerous snow showers up in the higher elevations over the weekend. Well, I thought we'd kind of start off with a longer range look. This is kind of an interesting model that NOAA runs called the CFS. I believe it stands for Climate Forecast System. This happens to be updated on a daily basis, and it actually shows the temperature anomalies for the month of January. And just kind of an interesting thing, because I've never seen anything like this before, where the entire nation is expected to, according to this model, to be colder than normal during the month of January. Now, frankly, this model has kind of had mixed results as I've been following it over recent months, and it's quite volatile. But the last few days, it's indicated quite a cold month of January for the nation as a whole. Quite impressive, something interesting to look at. Now, I will say, keeping on the theme of looking longer term ahead to the month of January or the rest of the winter, here's another long-range computer forecast model. This happens to be from Japan, the Japan Meteorological Agency, for the combined months of December, January, and February. It too has a cold U.S. here. Now, if this happened to come true after the warm December we've had, that would mean January and February would be very cold indeed to compensate for the warmer than normal temperatures that much of the nation experienced, at least in the first half of the month of December. Well, let's get back to the current situation, because there's a lot to talk about. Again, three storms right now affecting the nation. This is the weather warnings map that NOAA puts out. Different colors represent different warnings. The up here in Maine and the upper part of Vermont and New Hampshire, there's winter storm warnings. That's what that pinkish color represents here. Here is the main area of interest over the next 24 hours. This kind of an orange looking color here represents blizzard warnings, and it extends really from Denver pretty much all the way to about Madison, Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. That area will get absolutely pummeled over the next 24 hours. It looks like it's snowing right now in Denver. That storm pulls out into the Central Plains, heads northeast, and Madison is very likely to get at least a foot of snow out of this. In fact, their most snow ever in a 24-hour period was 17 inches. It's not out of the question that they match that or surpass that in this particular storm. It looks like that area, the southern part of Wisconsin, could very well be in the sweet spot here with absolutely blinding snow later on tonight and tomorrow. Winds will start picking up to maybe 40, 50 miles per hour, a true blizzard for the upper part of the Midwest. It'll affect cities like Omaha and Des Moines, Iowa, all the way to Madison, Wisconsin over the next 24 hours or so. Perhaps 3, 4, 5 inches of snow today in Denver with some blowing and drifting. Meanwhile, a third storm out here in the Pacific Northwest. Cold weather out here. Fresno, California could very well drop to below freezing tonight for the first time since way back in January. It's snowing right now in Seattle, and quite a bit of heavy snow in the higher elevations in the Pacific Northwest. Three separate storms causing lots of havoc across the nation right now. Well, let's look at a couple of NAM, North American Mesoscale computer forecast maps, kind of focus on this blizzard in the middle part of the country that sends a very powerful cold front into the eastern states Thursday night into early Friday. This is the forecast map for tomorrow morning. By this time, we'll have a full-fledged blizzard going on in Wisconsin and Iowa. Here is the center of the low right here on the Missouri-Illinois border. Very heavy snow falling at this time on the northwest side there, and like the classic sweet spot for heavy snow here on the northwest side and the cold air. This storm continues to move to the north and east and causes very strong winds on its backside later on tomorrow, and tomorrow night they'll be blowing and drifting. A foot or more of snow is very likely in this particular area over the next 24 hours or so. Meanwhile, today, a break in the action here, and right into tomorrow, kind of a break in the action here in the east, but that'll change drastically come Thursday night and Friday. Here is, in fact, the computer forecast map for Friday morning. Now, by this time, that blizzard is here over the eastern part of Michigan, still causing strong winds on its backside, 40, 50 mile an hour winds ripping from the north to the south over Lake Michigan, for example. Meanwhile, very powerful cold front sweeps to the east coast. A little bit of secondary low pressure area develops along the front, and there will very likely be heavy rain associated with this frontal passage along the I-95 corridor late tomorrow night, especially after midnight, in the wee hours of the morning, all the way into the early part of the Friday morning rush hour. Some thunderstorm activity can be associated with that, some very strong wind gusts, and that strong wind gust pattern will continue Friday afternoon, Friday night, and Saturday, and their temperatures will hold steady or drop during the day on Friday. Very well could be some snow shower activity even down the I-95 corridor late Friday night into the day on Saturday, and again just downwind of the eastern Great Lakes. It'll be a significant lake effect snow event on Friday, Saturday, and probably right into the early part of Sunday as well. But the bottom line here is very powerful cold front moving into the I-95 corridor tomorrow night into early Friday with some heavy rain and thunderstorm activity as well. Well, the next couple of minutes I want to kind of jump ahead to next week, because we started talking about that over the last couple of days, because there is a lot of potential for a big storm about the middle part of next week. This is the height anomaly chart from the last night's European model run here. Just wanted to point out this is for the end of next week, and what is setting up here, you have kind of an upper level ridge. This is a 500 millibar height anomaly chart here. So in the upper levels you have kind of a high pressure system developing here and a low pressure trough over here. And when you have a high pressure area north of a low pressure area in the upper part of the atmosphere, it tends to form a blocking pattern. We call it a Rex blocking pattern in the upper part of the atmosphere. And I point this out because this very well may play a role in that storm expected to cross the country next week. With a Rex blocking pattern set up, it's possible that the storm, instead of coming out of the southern states and headed towards the Great Lakes, it very well could be pushed more or less to the East Coast, and that would be quite a colder solution for the East Coast. So we'll continue to monitor this potential Rex block that could be setting up later next week. That very well could have an effect on the storm track expected for the middle of next week. Now, it may take a while for the computer forecast models to kind of latch onto this Rex block idea, but this is just kind of an interesting change in a 24-hour period from the European Ensemble Run. This happens to be the forecast map from the European Ensemble Run, which is a collection of European runs with slightly different initial conditions for next Wednesday night. And notice at this time the low pressure area depicted here is southeastern Ohio or West Virginia area, and again this is as a Rex block is perhaps developing. So this is a storm that comes out of the south in this fashion right here. Now this already is showing some signs of a change, and we'll take a look at the previous European Ensemble forecast map. And here is the forecast map that was from the prior Ensemble Run. It's changed to this, already kind of a shift to the east is the point I'm making here. So it'll be interesting to track the processing here as these models kind of latch on to the developing Rex block here. So that, again, this is a prior European Ensemble Run which had the storm going a little bit closer, a little bit more headed towards the Great Lakes, but now it's switched a little bit farther to the east, and we'll continue to monitor this to see if the trend continues farther and farther to the south and east rather than towards the Great Lakes. Again, all that is for the storm expected the middle part of next week. We have a lot of activity here. Right up front, we have this powerhouse cold front coming into the eastern states Thursday night into the early part of Friday. We'll continue to monitor all of this at the siweather.com. I'm